Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star. I am here to give the astrology forecast for the full moon lunar eclipse, which occurs on March 25th. The lunar eclipse is at its maximum fullness at around 12:14 a.m., but the new moon is around around midnight here on the Pacific coast. So that's Pacific time. So you might ask, what is a lunar eclipse? Well, a lunar eclipse always occurs at a full moon, and it is when the shadow of the earth comes between the light of the sun, blocking the reflection of it by the full moon. It's important to remember that the moon has no light of her own. This is called a penumbral eclipse, meaning that's only a very small shadow is visible, and so not many people will actually see it. You'll feel it and experience it, but it's not a real strong eclipse, and it will be visible mostly in Europe and Africa. And of course, we know that every full moon is a much more emotional time. The moon herself, they say her interior is made of water, and she impacts the tides. She impacts all of the water cycles here on Mother Earth, underwater as well. And they say Mother Earth herself rises 6 inches to meet the full moon, and animals and people respond as well. Animals' behavior gets a little crazier, and people get a little crazier. Anybody who works in the service areas will often, things get a little crazy, they'll say, "Is it a full moon?" And often they're right. You can feel the energy shift. Um, and so our own feeling natures will be turned up high because an eclipse is kind of a supercharged eclipse. And a lunar eclipse really does impact our emotional bodies, our relationships, our domestic life, kind of our more personal, private selves, although it can impact things in the world as well, because the people that are acting in the outer world are experiencing these. Okay. Eclipses bring things to light that may have been hidden, and they're harbingers of change. This is a south node lunar eclipse, and so there must be an ending before a new beginning can occur. And if you have planets from 3 to 8 degrees of the Libra-Aries axis, you're the ones that are most impacted. But, other cardinal signs such as a Capricorn and Cancer, if you have a square, that is also impacted. And trines can be impacted as well. And that would be mainly to the moon. And so that would be the air signs. So if you have planets in the early degrees of Aquarius or Gemini, but the most impacted will be the conjunction. And also is, what house does this fall in? uh the house is the stage or the area of life, the area of life, or we could call it the stage upon which the drama of our life plays out. So what kind of relationships? If this eclipse falls in your fourth house, it would be more family relationships. If it falls in your first house, it'd be a relationship to yourself. If it falls in the 12th house, it could be spiritual relationships. In the 10th house, work, career relationships. So it just all depends on where it lands as to what it might what it might be saying. And like I said, that with a South Node lunar eclipse, it often brings an ending so a new beginning can occur. Okay. So anyway, and someone named Charles Jane, he's an astrologer, an older astrologer. I'm not sure when he lived. From the past, he says that events that occur in the days around an eclipse are always memorable. Events that occur 7 to 10 days before an eclipse work out in unexpected fashion and can be fated. Okay, so he's saying building up to the eclipse is just as strong as after the eclipse, or even stronger. The lunar eclipse can have an effect from these events that take place 6 weeks before or after, and it can have an effect actually up to about 6 months or more afterwards. All right, I'm now going to show you the chart. Okay, let's make sure. Okay, all right. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the new moon aspect of it and the energy. And we know that it is set every new moon sets the energy for the next 30 days. But with an eclipse, it can actually set it for up to 6 months. So the new moon is actually, like I said, on March 25th at at midnight here in on the Pacific coast, Pacific time. So the eclipse is right here. Okay, here we have the moon at 5 degrees 7 minutes of Libra. It's opposite the sun at 5 degrees of Aries. So that is the eclipse right there. And so the eclipse is ruled by Venus. And Venus is over here at 16 degrees of Pisces. She's conjunct Saturn, but she's coming into a conjunction with Neptune. And this is a super beautiful aspect that is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so even though things may seem a little rocky, there's really some beautiful divine support for us. Okay, and Venus is also sextile Jupiter, and Jupiter is coming into its conjunction here with Uranus. All right, and the eclipse is also trine Pluto. All right, so those are the main things we're going to be talking about today. There's a few other things that are going to come in, but those are the main things. All right. So, what does this all mean? When, by the way, this is an image of a lunar eclipse behind me, even though it's this is just a penumbral. We're not going to see it look like the red blood moon, but I really like this image kind of showing the phases of the moon going in and then coming back out. Okay. And it's pretty colors too. Okay. All right. So the Libra-Aries axis is a balance of polarities. It's self versus other, masculine and feminine. We all have our inner masculine and inner feminine. The dark and light within all of the different polarities that live within us. Libra asks us to balance them. Libra is the sign of the scales. And I've always loved the image of Aleister Crowley's adjustment card, which is the Libra card in the Crowley Tarot deck. It's I believe it's card number 8. So it's also the infinity sign, that looks like an 8. And right there in the center is that balance. It's where we are balanced. And anyway, in this card, she is standing on the tip of a sword. And because it is that tip of a sword is where we have balance. We go just a little bit this way or a little bit that way. We're out of balance. And so when Libra comes along, Libra is asking us to find that place of inner balance. We may have gotten off track somewhere or gone to an extreme, whereas Libra says, come back to the center. Find your place of balance. And it also reminds me of the ancient Egyptian cosmology of the weighing of the heart. When a person died, it was believed their heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at. And Ma'at is related to Libra as well. Her feast day is in Libra. Anyway, she is the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. And to me, this says love, because that all of these are based in love. Love are truth, justice, and cosmic order. And so I believe, since this relationship is also, Libra is so much about relationship and finding that balance between ourselves and other. It's about healing our hearts and releasing old emotional baggage to the surface, bringing things to the surface that may have been brewing under the surface, bringing it to the light where it can be dealt with. Libra can be very conflict avoidant, and yet I feel like this is a time, there are so many things in the, because it's opposite the Aries sun, it's saying there's some things that may need to be dealt with, but it also may bring some turbulent emotional waters, bring to light what has been weighing on our heart, you know, the heart of the matter, whatever it is, to bring it to light so that it can be healed and dealt with. And so while it is doing that, it's bringing to awareness old behavior patterns in our relationships, with an opportunity to make different choices, different responses than we normally make, to sit with the energy and make a different choice that is based in love, not in our wounds. So often our behavior comes directly from our wounds, not from where we want to be. And so to really open our heart to let love in, and when we do, it can help heal our relationships by changing our behavior. But as we do feel these turbulent emotions, it's important to feel them and let them pass. Let them just move through us. If you're feeling anger, go find a way to release it. Go dig a hole, run a mile, whatever it is, so that you can finally get that energy out and be able to start to deal with what the real problem is. Because, anger can be a great motivator for change, but not if we hold on to it. Okay. Don't let turbulent emotions disrupt your inner peace, because that is when we can find clarity. I love this analogy of the lake. When the lake water is still, we can see our reflection. We can see the reflection of the world around us. But when it's turbulent, we can no longer see that reflection. And so water is always related to emotions. And so when our inner waters, our emotions are calm, we can have clarity about what is true, come to light, and the inner guidance that we are seeking. When everything is turbulent, we remain confused and working out of that place of turbulence. And the other thing to know is not just about us, but when we can create an environment of calm around us, calm creates, I should restate that. Inner calm creates an environment of calm around us. And, it is known that in the midst of a crisis, it is the one who remains calm that can see clearly, that knows what to do. So be that calm in the storm that helps navigate to safety, not only in your life, but to know that it sends ripples out into the quantum field. The only way to have peace in the world is to have peace in our own hearts. And I feel like this eclipse is one big teaching around that. And we do that by being present and centered, understanding that the storm will pass, and to allow ourselves to breathe through the turbulence and to entertain other perspectives. Okay. All right. So the moon is also conjunct what is called the Supergalactic center. And this is, our astrophysics call it a black hole. But it's really a portal. The black hole is actually creating a portal to other universes. And so the information, light, data is passing through these portals. And so this is like a receiver for this particular teaching. And this is very much about the mastery of relationship with self and other. That is a piece of what the Supergalactic Center is about, which is, it is at 2 degrees, I believe is 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra at this moment in time. Anyway, but it brings in the law of attraction. That is one of the major teachings of the Supergalactic Center. So what are you broadcasting? For that is what will show up in your field. Okay. And it's important to remember that that truth is based in love. Fear is based in lies. And this is where I want to bring up something that I'm seeing in social media, is there is a lot of posts around hating certain political candidates. And I really asked this question: And I thought it was so profound. If you hate a political candidate, are you putting hate into the field? Okay. So it's so important to be aware of what you're broadcasting. Not only what you say, but what you put on social media. And if something is fear-based, you are adding to the fear and the hate in the field by spreading that frequency. As I said, truth is based in love, fear is based in lies. And there's this wonderful quote from Rumi: that which is false troubles the heart, but truth brings joyous tranquility. Even if it is a hard truth, sometimes there are truths that are hard to digest and to acknowledge they are true. But once we can, it can bring peace to our heart, and then we know what to do with it. If we remain turbulent because you know, things that are not true really bring a lot of disturbance to our field. Okay. And things that are not true are usually based in something that is not love. And we broadcast what is living within us. So it is so important to stay on an optimistic high note, even when acknowledging hard truths, because this is not only for others, but it is for our own energy field, because that's where it all starts. It is our field that is impacting the field around us. And to know that also another thing is relationships as mirrors. you know uh, our relationships show us things about ourselves. What are others mirroring to you? Just for an example, I'm going to use anger again. If you're having a lot of conflict in your field, it may be that you are carrying a lot of anger, and it may be unconscious. So it's so important to bring it to conscious awareness, because so then you can really work with the energy behind it. Okay. On and reverse, if people are showing you tremendous gratitude on some level, being kind and generous, generosity is in your field. It is you that is putting out that generosity and then drawing it back to you. So they're both true. It just really, one is a shadow aspect and one is the more loving way of living in the world. And another piece is how you treat others is a reflection of what you feel inside. Okay. Of who you are inside and what you're feeling inside. That is what you put out into the field. So it's so important to just have an awareness around the law of attraction and relationships as mirrors right now. It is opposite the Aries sun. And of course, this is another big one. It's an opposition always brings that potential for projection. And Aries, one of the traits of Aries is how to deal with conflict and anger. And so there's this wonderful quote from Marianne Williamson that says, you can't have peace in a world full of angry people. And the more we become aware of our own anger and like I said, what we're putting out, the more we can change the world. Okay, because it's always an inside job. And often anger comes up because we're not clear about our boundaries, where we say yes and where we say no. Libra has a tendency to be conflict avoidant and over compromise to keep the peace. But until we say, yes, this is what I want, not whatever you want is okay. No, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. There may be places where you really don't care, but it's important to really stand up for that. And I feel like that's what this is saying, because sometimes anger is it is a boundary. It's the way we set boundaries. So when we're more conscious about setting boundaries, we don't have to be angry. We can just say yes to this, no to that. Okay. All right. The Aries North Node and Sun say to stand up for yourself. And the other piece is here, it says that Libra, there is a saying that Libra only knows who they are through the mirror reflection of another. But others do not determine who we are. They're only mirroring back behaviors that we are exhibiting. Aries asks us to claim who we are through inner knowing. And I feel like this lunar eclipse is preparing us for the healing crisis of identity that is coming with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th, because it is very much about, I feel like, coming out of the unconscious into more conscious awareness about who we really are. And I'll be going more into that in the eclipse. Anyway, so what else we have going on here? As I talked about, we have the eclipse moon is trine Pluto. It's also trine a dwarf planet called Sedna. I don't know that much about Sedna, but I do know a little, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. So Pluto is at 1 degree Aquarius. Once again, the Sabian symbol for this is an unexpected thunderstorm, indicates we're in stormy weather. Pluto is always about the integration of the shadow, and especially around our relationships, in relationship to how our projections, because Pluto's always about owning our stuff. I feel like this is about also the resolving of old relationship karma. You know, sometimes our business with people is just done, that we did what we came to do. We have, there's no more life force because the work is done, and to let it go. We might find this is a time of endings and of letting old relationships go, because we're well, one piece is we're no longer in the same resonant field, but another is that the business is just done. And sometimes with letting things go, there is grief. And so you have to feel it to heal it. Okay. And as we do, it allows for forgiveness. You know, Pluto is the alchemist, you know, and forgiveness starts with forgiveness of self as well as others. But, you know, it's not the same thing as forgetting if something, you know, difficult happened. Um, but it is about releasing the anger around the memory of our experience. And as we do, that can bring inner peace. Okay. And like I said, only those with whom you can be authentic will remain in your resonant field. Is also trine Sedna, which is a dwarf planet. There's several pieces to this story, but the one that I felt was the most significant was, you know, Sedna was a young Inuit woman, and it's really the story of how the oceans and marine life were created. And so this is just a piece of the story. Sedna was thrown into the sea by her father. And as she tried to hang on to the boat, her father cut off her fingers. And as her fingers came off, they became whales, dolphins, and other sea life. And she ultimately became known as the mother of the sea, which was her destiny. So, you know, it's about holding on too tight to things that don't serve us. It can be super scary. And sometimes if we don't let go, spirit steps in and makes things go. Okay. So it's a story about a surrender to our higher destiny, aligning with divine will, and releasing what is no longer yours. All right. Now we have this beautiful Venus in Pisces, which is the ruler of this Libra solar eclipse. Venus in Pisces is exalted there. And Venus, of course, is the goddess of love. And she's traveling on her way to, like I said, she's now conjunct Neptune, but she'll be conjuncting, excuse me, she's now conjunct Saturn, but she's past that conjunction about 3 degrees, 4 degrees. So it's still there, but she's moving into a conjunction with Neptune. She's 10 degrees away. It'll be exact on April 3rd. And that is an absolutely beautiful aspect. And this is when human love becomes divine love. It's compassion and very attuned to the suffering of others. You know, they say compassion is the highest expression of divine love. It's the highest expression of love. It is divine love. Okay. And it's also conjunct the star Ashinar in Eridanus, the river. Now, this star, on one hand, can mean stormy emotions. but it is an initiation into the higher frequencies of love. So this is an initiation gate. Even while we're traveling through these stormy waters, it's about healing our hearts, healing our relationships, so that we can move into these higher frequencies of divine love. And I was told once, by the Divine Mother, when I asked, how can we heal the suffering of the world? What she said to me was, open your heart to love. Love heals everything. And I feel like that's what this is about. As we open our hearts to love, we can also make different choices. Okay. And it's also a very creative energy. So if this impacts your chart, or even it just could be in the field, that you could find yourself being super creative, as beauty as an expression of divine love. Okay. The shadow is rescuing, feeling deeply the suffering of the world, and to make it your own and try to fix it. You just need to be able to be present and compassionate. Let each person have their own experience, whatever it is. Okay. And to meet it with kindness. Venus is conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And so I feel like will help with the boundaries, giving structure to the creative process. So yes, this is a super creative time. But most of all, I feel like Saturn is saying to slow down, to go within and connect with your inner guidance, through a daily spiritual practice, to anchor your energy in the storm. Okay. And to anchor it to a higher reality. There is this really great quote from there's this really wonderful quote that I want to share with you about Saturn. And I feel like this is very much Saturn in Pisces. It says, Saturn is the illusion. There's only one reality. Let's see here. Saturn is the illusion. There's only one reality, and Neptune is the reality that there are many. I think this is what we are finding out. Okay. I feel like as this initiation with Venus in Pisces into divine love, Saturn in Pisces conjunct this is showing us that our consensus reality is what is changing. That's what I want to say. Saturn is consensus reality, but in Pisces, it is, and later on what's that going to be? Later on in 2025, Saturn and Neptune are going to be conjunct in Pisces, and then again in Aries. Or they're doing a dance with each other, but they're both going to be in Pisces very close to each other. And I feel like that is what is happening and showing us the way through to these other realities is through our heart. Okay. It is through divine love. All right. So another piece of this is, like I said, is to connect to your inner light and guidance to help you through these turbulent times, and to remember that you are never alone. I love that song. It just kind of came to light lately, or into my field lately. You'll never walk alone. We never walk alone. We're always surrounded by love, by our ancestors, by our spirit guides, by our angels. There's so much help here. It's just important to be able to trust the process that we are going through and ask for help when you need it. There's no prayer that goes unanswered. It's just not always answered the way we expect it to be. All right. And Venus is also sextile Jupiter in Taurus. So this is a very beautiful aspect. And I feel like it's saying there's many blessings available to us from this lunar eclipse. Well, one of the big ones is as we stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth. That is another way to move through this turbulence. Jupiter is conjunct Uranus and Taurus. And of course, Jupiter brings unexpected opportunity or good fortune. Well, the unexpected piece is Uranus. Uranus brings what is unexpected. Jupiter brings, especially in Taurus, can bring, material good fortune. Okay. But it's also just simply many blessings, especially if it's aspecting your chart. Now, there's going to be the exact Jupiter-Taurus conjunction. I believe it's on April 19th, just right after a week or so after the eclipse. It's actually part of the eclipse energy. And I believe this is also about a field of miracles happening, allowing our consciousness to I want to say to accept miracles as part of our reality, because they do happen all the time. I've seen one happen just recently. And to know that we are in a field of infinite possibility, and it's really where you focus your energy is really what is going to unfold. Now, one thing about Jupiter, though, is Jupiter opens doors, but it also closes doors that are no longer part of our journey. Let's say we can't go through the door in front of us if we're holding that door behind us open with our foot. We need to take both feet and go through it and trust the process. And also, it's very much about how in the quantum field, the attitude of gratitude changes everything. Thank you, just saying thank you can shift the whole energy, and just really being aware of that and of all of the blessings in the field and all of the magic of Mother Nature that is all coming alive. I feel like this is a big piece of what is happening. The magic of Mother Nature making herself so much more aware in our consciousness. And also, as Taurus is so much about the body, listening to our body. As the light is pouring in here in the photon belt, as well as in these increased solar flares, what I'm finding it is doing, it is hitting as the light comes in, it comes up on the obstacles. Let's say the weakest link in the chain, whatever it is that is showing that in your own body. And as it comes in, it's going to illuminate the problem so that you can deal with it. If there's something, I certainly have been in denial about an issue that I have had, and it has just absolutely woken me up. So anyway, so there is the expansion of consciousness in the increased light in the photon belt, as well as the activation of the new human template that is happening and the activation of our 12-strand DNA. So it's so important to be super aware of what your body is saying to you. All right. Now, the Sabian symbol for this lunar eclipse is a man watches his ideals taking concrete form before his inner vision. This is about creative visualization and the role it plays in creating what we want. To know that things are created on the etheric realm before they come into the material realm. So if what you are wanting in your life, well, I'm going to say this, wherever you're focusing and visualizing is what will come into play. So really focus on what it is you want, what is in your highest good. And one of the things, of course, is about world peace. It's about visualizing world peace, but from a place of inner peace. And to know from a place of when we have peace in our heart, that will bring peace in the world. Okay. And I love this quote from Rumi. It says, "Make peace with the universe, take it in joy. It will turn to gold. Resurrection will be now. Every moment a new beauty, a new beauty." So make peace in the universe, take joy in it. It will turn to gold. Resurrection will be now. Every moment a new beauty. And how we make peace with the universe is to be at peace with ourselves. All right. So, wishing you all much love and many blessings in the coming 2 weeks. May you find peace in your heart as we move through these turbulent times. And namaste. And of course, if you're interested in a reading, all of my information will be in the box below. And if you like this reading, please check like and subscribe. Aho, namaste.